So the food that you're going to be eating today, as most of you know, you've heard me say in the past, I went through a fairly significant weight change about 5 years ago now. I lost about 125 pounds, and I learned how to eat properly. That's the deal. One of the main problems that I had was in my entire life was I ate far too many refined grains and too much refined sugar. That is the bane of our society. Okay, our food has been hijacked and pretty much taken away from us by a lot of food companies. So the first thing you'll notice about our food is that it contains 100% whole milled flour, whole milled wheat. There's a big difference between whole milled, whole grain, and enriched flour. Anytime you see white flour, anytime you see a flour that says enriched on it, I would encourage you to not even bother with it. It converts very quickly into sugar. And you'll notice if you have a nice big lunch, let's say you go out on a pizza or whatever, a couple hours later after lunch you might get a little bit sleepy. That's your blood sugars rising and lowering. So for blood sugar stabilization, for optimum health, you want to eat whole grains, in particular whole milled grains. The difference being, a whole milled grain is the entire grain going into a mill, grinding it, and giving it to you essentially. Whereas even whole wheat, they'll grain it, they'll separate it, and they'll bring it back together later on. They'll bring back in the bran, they'll bring back in the endosperm and all those things. So if you can find a really good quality whole milled whole grain, you're really on your way to good health and nutrition. So everything we prepare at the Wellness Movement Bakery is based on whole milled grains. I also look to put in other ancient grains that we don't get in our diets. A lot of people don't eat as much quinoa. They don't eat chia. They don't eat flax. These are all outrageously healthy things for you to eat. They stabilize your blood sugars. They make it real easy to maintain and lose weight. They make it easy to fight off various diseases because they're full of antioxidants. So if you just base your diet initially on whole grains, not refined grains, nothing white. Get rid of the white stuff. Get rid of the white refined sugar. Get rid of the white refined flours. Whole grains and greens is the other main thing that American diets are missing. A lot of fresh leafy greens. So in virtually everything that we prepare or that I make available, there's lots of leafy greens, and today there's lots of spinach. There's kale in some of this food. There's things of that nature. Our fats are olive oil and avocado, things like that. Great fats for you. Real quickly, when you eat carbohydrates, flour is a carbohydrate, right? Wheat is a carbohydrate, green vegetables are carbohydrates, fruits carbohydrate. There's a lot of things that are carbohydrates. Refined flours will cause you to have high spikes in blood sugar, and you'll be hungry shortly thereafter. Most carbohydrates will take somewhere between a half an hour and an hour, maybe an hour and a half, to metabolize, to work their way through your system. So they're called energy calories primarily. You see it on a lot of European labels. How many energy calories are in here? How many calories are in here that give you quick energy? So ideally, you want to have a food. When I design food, I design food that's got an hour worth of good quality energy from whole grains. Fantastic. Your proteins take about 2 hours to metabolize. Your proteins are your meats, a lot of protein in some of the seeds that we use. There's a lot of seeds in here as well. And that lasts you for about 2 hours. And then fat. It takes about 4 hours for fat to metabolize. So like olive oil and avocado and things like that. So when you're designing a really good quality food to eat, something that has an appropriate blending of all three is really important, and it should sustain you and keep you happy and healthy and level blood sugars for at least 2.5 to 3 hours. So personally, I eat like 5 times a day, very small portions. I don't eat very much in any one given meal, and I eat my biggest meal the first thing of the day because that's when I'm going to use most of my calories, and I have a declining amount of food that I eat. And so at the end of the day, my snack is really all that dinner is. So that's what we have here today. So what we got is some pretty creative food. Anybody that likes a spicy food? Anybody likes that kind of a spicy chipotle kind of thing? This is a bread that my son designed, and it is quite spicy. And inside are avocado and tomato and some greens and so forth, and a little bit of cream cheese spread. So it kind of gives you that hot and spiciness, yet sweet and kind of savory as well. Okay, once again, the dough loads, it's all whole milled flour. So if you're not used to having pizza on really incredibly healthy dough, here's your chance to taste what that is. This one's got mushrooms on it, and then there's a couple of plain cheeses over here.
Oh, it's so good. With the avocado, the tomato, like you say, it has the calming influence of the cream cheese.
What's the difference between using freshly ground grain versus like commercially ground? That's
Well,
kind of 2 or 3 weeks older.
The grains in this food, the main whole wheat grains, are from Red Spring hard wheat grown in the greater Sacramento area.
Okay.
Which is fantastic. I mean, so you also want to eat food as close to where you live that's grown, okay? Because it's going to have in the antioxidants and the things that you need that are present in your area.